I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority. Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on Logic Before Authority. This is a very, very serious video that you need to try to share with as many people as possible. Some of them may not understand it, may not get it, but we should try to get the word out there. Alright, let me tell you why. Okay, and some of you are going to recognize this from me previously talking about this subject matter prior. Okay, but we've all heard about the threats of violence and things like this surrounding Mr. T, and I know you know who T is, right? Okay, you can kind of see on the screen here who I'm talking about, his father, right? I'm going to be a little vague on some of the words on this, but not vague so that you can't understand what I'm saying. Okay, Donald Trump Jr., okay, has recently started using these words, and I found even one on his tweets where he's saying enough is enough, and he's talking about well, put it this way, he's talking about enough of a lot of things, but most of you are familiar with this and familiar with what this means. Those of you that are not, I will explain it a bit more in detail and show you some other examples of it. But basically what I'm looking at here is that, let's come over here. There's a lot of threatening going on. There's a lot of claims of threats that someone is going to get assassinated. Okay? Someone is going to get assassinated is what they're hinting at. Let me show you what I mean by hinting. Then we're going to come back to a lot of this. Okay? Enough is enough associated with all around Trump. Okay? And why is it around Trump? It has to do with this card. But we're going to come back to it. And it has a lot to do more than this, but this is the writing on the wall, you might say, in a way. Okay, let me show you something else. Okay, so hopefully I won't get too many of these slides out of order here. And but okay, you see this here, right? This is called War on the Rocks or something. This is a online publication that it says it's national security for insiders by insiders, and you have Bruce Hoffman and Jacob Ware. I'll show you exactly who these guys are and where they work at, but they work for like FEMA, okay, and intelligence organizations. They're not your normal journalists, okay, that are just spitting propaganda. These guys actually work on the inside, and the accelerating threat of political assassination. Okay, hopefully I don't get these slides too much out of order here. I'll show you this real quick. Okay, coming some of the kind of the same things here. Them mentioning and bringing up other assassinations that have happened in the past. They're talking about JFK a lot. Okay. Let's see. Some of this I really wanted to specifically read. I'll give you a little tease here in the article. It says, today's growing wave of assassination attempts has crossed ideologies. Now, keep in mind who is writing this, and I'll show it to you more in just a minute. Okay? It says the emerging trend is due in no small part by the reemergence of so-called accelerationism as a distinct violent extremistic strategy. Now, understand, to you are those that are awake enough and aware enough, this is going to be telling us a little bit of what their actual plan is and how it works, is how this was written. And I am over a decade into studying this stuff in depth, and I can promise you that this is what they're up to. Let's see. Let me try to. It says, for extremists looking to sow chaos, meaning extremists, them, okay, the ones that are up to this, the ones that run and control the world. For extremists seeking to sow chaos and speed up some cataclysmic social, societal collapse, high-profile politicians provide an attractive target as symbols of the mainstream liberal political order. We need to KILL the HVTs, the high-value targets, one poster wrote on Telegram in August of 2019, using a military acronym for high-value targets. When a popular high-value target is gunned down, it inspires hope and dreams. The COVID pandemic then added fuel to the fire as public officials were blamed and then threatened for the lockdowns and enforced quarantines. I will tell you, some of you won't believe me, but this is a script, okay? It's coming from both sides. They're just actors on the same stage. I'm telling you, I am right. I am 100% right about this. And if you think I'm wrong, you still should be willing to consider what I'm saying. You should always be ready and willing to consider all sides and reconsider all things at all times. Because when we really think we got it right, we're really wrong. But targets ranged from prominent, and I'm speaking to myself too, targets ranged from political prominent health officials like Cerebral National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Let me get some water here, gracious day. Okay. Let's see, where was I at? Talking about Dr. Anthony Fauci to Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, as well as many other lower-level state officials responsible for the imposition of the extraordinary public health measures. Now, some of you, most of everybody that's listening to my voice knows that all of this was a pandemic, okay? They know the truth behind all this, or the majority of the truth. They know that the needles are poison. They know these things. It says Fauci was forced into constant law enforcement protection because of the threats against his life, which was only a prelude to the death threats and serial harassment that now routinely are directed against local and state election officials. Political assassinations are uniquely suited to tear at the country, and this is what they know. Okay? Political assassinations, like if something was to happen to Mr. T, what do you think is going to happen to all these people that are in love with Mr. T? And their last thread of hope for this country and for the world is hanging by the thread of Mr. T. What do you think happens if something happens to him? These people would lose their shit. They would go completely postal. Yeah, they would go postal. For those of you, and I know most of you around my age watch my channel, so you know what I mean by saying going postal. And I got a little something I'm going to show you about going postal here in a few minutes that is related to this, as a matter of fact. Okay, so let's keep going here. For starters, they force opposition politicians and voters into an apparently awkward dilemma between condemning hatred and violence and seeming to renege on their own political positions. A situation Democrats did not handle particularly well after the attempt on Kavanaugh's life. Now, personally, I really don't believe that these actual attempts on these people in this article that you're talking about, for the most part, actually even happened. But it is part of setting the stage, and it's part of the predictive programming, which like this article is, and also at the same time mixing in some truth here. says, we can't come together on this topic without acknowledging and condemning the appalling rise of violence that we have seen from a range of ideologies, can't even speak here, directed at public officials, but they also risk dissuading good people across the political spectrum from running for office, blah, blah, blah. And it says, perhaps the most damning element of the January 6th commission hearings has been the broadcasting of the threats issued against everyday public servants, such as Georgia's election workers, the Department of Justice, and it says they have opened around 110 federal criminal investigations, which is, who knows if that's true or not, reported as hostile or harassing by the election committee. A common refrain I hear from my members is that nobody is going to take this serious until something bad happens. That is a line right out of the interview Trump actually gave with the magazine Playboy. And that's on my channel. You can go back and look at that. It's called Nuclear Trump. It says, a common refrain I hear from my members is that no one is going to take this seriously until something bad happens. And we're all braced for the worst. The National Association of State Election Directors Executive Director warned. So the National Association of State Election Directors warned that nobody is going to take this seriously until something bad happens, and we're all braced for the worst. Okay. So hopefully you kind of see where this is going. That's another copy of that one statement. It says, we live in an age of heightened political tensions when political dimensions are often seen as existential crisis, and where elections, therefore, carry perceived life or death stakes, meaning the people see it as they're hanging by the thread of Trump coming back into office. Okay? Because they look at him as their leader, their savior. They don't have a higher savior like a lot of us do. With the midterm around the corner, a former president under investigation, and major upheavals occurring on hot-button issues such as abortion and gun control, extremists inclined to violence, meaning them, will be increasingly likely to lash out. Now, they are going to do their best to get us to kill each other. Okay? That's the red horse in Revelation 6, that he had the power to cause them to kill each other. The situation is only made more serious by the seeming consent a faction of the political right has offered to would-be assassins, include a Florida State House candidate, which was recently expelled from Twitter for writing, under my plan, all Floridians will have permission to shoot FBI, IRS, or ATF, and all other feds on site. Let freedom ring. And it goes into talking about him a little bit more, I think. Let me see. Okay. At a time when mass shootings at schools, shopping malls, cinemas, and other public venues have already become an increasingly frequent occurrence. Now, anybody that's been around very long knows that these guys are perpetrating these events, or at a minimum in control of them in some way or form, if not completely staging all of them. Says, public events have already become an increasingly frequent occurrence. Says, the system was blinking red, Director of Central Intelligence George Tenet famously told the 9/11 Commission, describing the months before September of 2000, and you know what? A sentiment which feels pertinent again now. The system was blinking red, he says, before 9/11, and they're talking about assassinations here. And now it feels pertinent again. He's saying is getting ready to go down. It's getting ready to go down. There's why I pulled that piece out individually. Here's another article. Election officials plead for more protection from threats and harassment. Let's see here. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, it says political assassinations have indeed changed the course of history, and most often not for the better. Now, COVID lockdowns, explosive new political phenomena which demonize political opponents as evil, and divisive elections cast in existential terms have left a charred political landscape in which those leaders still standing are particularly vulnerable. The leaders still standing are vulnerable. Now, they drive right around in a car called the Beast, which is a tank, and flying the most armed airplanes in the skies, surrounded by other F-16s, but they're particularly vulnerable, according to this. At a time when the system is again blinking red, we must ensure that we take this threat seriously and are doing everything possible to deter any future American assassination through a combination of prudently robust defenses and proactive law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. So they're saying it's coming. Now, again, the guys that wrote some of the stuff we were just reading, okay, Bruce Hoffman is the senior fellow. That means he's a Rockefeller, okay? Is the senior fellow for counterterrorism and homeland security at the Council on Foreign Relations and a professor at Georgetown University. Jacob Ware, the second person that wrote the stuff I just read to you, is a research associate for counterterrorism at the Council on Foreign Relations and an adjunct for professor at Georgetown. So these guys are insiders, and they're writing these predictive programming news reports. Why? Because they know what's coming. They know what's getting ready to go down, or at least they know enough, they've been told enough to write these reports. But they know what's coming down and what's going to happen. I'm not going to read that one. I'm going to go ahead and take you over to here. Okay, this is where that card I showed you earlier came from, the Enough is Enough card. I'm going to show you some more examples and help you understand what's happening here. Do you remember going postal? Yeah. This is a card that came from this game set. This game set was printed in 1995, and in that set was this card. It said post office, and let me blow this up if I can. See the card here, guys. Says post office. Guy running in, see the mail flying everywhere coming out. He's a mailman, and he's got a gun. He's firing it. He's gone postal, you see. This was a year after the game set was released. I'm assuming you can understand how important that is. Here's one for the oil spill. These are one of the cards. I have this card. I have a set of these, actually. They look like they come in boxes like that. Okay. Oh, and there's the NASA moon landing for you with the Earth on the background. Yep, letting you know. And this is another card. Let's see if we looked at the oil spill. Remember BP oil spill? And the one up in Alaska? Because this one's got mountains in it. The one that happened in Alaska happened just a couple of years after this card set was printed. Remember this? That happened, didn't it? Remember this one? There's the Pentagon in the middle with smoke coming up. That kind of happened the same day as this one, didn't it? How about this? Does this look familiar to you? How about this one? This was printed in 1995, and I have one of these cards in my possessions. Thanks to one of you guys for getting it for me. It says, don't forget the smashed estate where they took the ropes and tore down and smashed all the statues. Huh? You remember this happened in the last 2 years. They tore down the statues, just like it's in this card. Now, how could they predict all this if it wasn't a plan from the beginning? A stage act on both sides. The whole world is a stage. Republicans, Democrats, all of them, politicians overseas, all these people that have got up there in power are under the control of a powerful group of people that are mostly bankers and religious zealots, because these people are religious. It's just not the religion that we may like or whatever. Does this ring a bell? Anything soon or recent? CDC getting into their well, you know. How about this one? Anybody get any of this recently? Or heard about any of this associated with these? How about that? Kind of goes along with this, don't it? Well, that one covers his forehead. Doesn't matter. It's a mask. It's a death mask. And what it says about it is exactly right. It says whoever wears it can see a slightly different world through the staring eye holes. And when the mask is removed, the different world is the true one. You see, what they're saying, once you fall for the lie and the deception, and you put on those death masks saying you believed the lie, and you look through the mask and seen the world for the false reality that you understand it to be, then when you took the mask off, you still believed the false reality and the false world. Yep. How about this one? Remember the Georgia Guidestones that had this on it? About the population control and population reduction. Says too many people making too many problems and not enough love to go around. Genesis, referring to the book of Genesis. Now this one is one that has not, well, it may be, but it hasn't played fully out yet, I don't think. But it's coming. You know why I know? Because they're installing the satellites, the orbital mind control lasers. They're installing them above your heads right now. They call it Starlink. And there's a couple other name brands too. And they're claiming it's going to do something fabulous for you. And countries that are our mortal enemies like it so good that they're allowing them to fly above their countries too and not shoot them down. Like Iran, Russia, China, just to name a few. Now, why does Elon Musk get a pass and he's able to fly his satellites? Because it's a plan and he's in on it. Orbital mind control lasers coming down and causing people to go turn green like the Hulk, go crazy like zombies. Let's see what it says here about it. By using the laser's actions, you may add, remove, or reverse an alignment of any group in play. You may do this at any time except during a privileged attack. The change lasts only for the rest of the current player's turn. So in other words, they can turn them on, drive you crazy, turn them off, you kind of okay again, you know. that kind of thing. And they're saying they can use it to bust up groups of people getting organized and things like that. Now, that one is maybe one that's still to come. Here's one that may be still to come. It says, and this was printed in 1995. Check this out. It says, political correctness. Used insensitive pronoun. Now, when have you heard people talking about pronouns more ever than now? And we're talking about assassination of political leaders, right? So here we are with this card that was printed in 1995 that says, oh, this politician used an insensitive pronoun. This wouldn't have made no sense to me 2 years ago. But now, it makes sense, don't it? Yep. Says good thoughts are now required. Increase the power of all liberal groups by 3. All conservative groups with a power of 0 or 1 become criminal as well. You see? So in other words, if you think or say the wrong thing, they're saying the other people will come and get you and hang you and kill you. And they're the ones orchestrating this stuff. They're the ones, they're pulling the strings. They're the ones that are pulling this off. Here's one called the imposter card, where someone's wearing a mask and they're not really that politician. There's someone else under the mask. People have been recently saying this about JB, you know, Mr. Let's Go Brandon dude, right? The current actor in the role of the President of the United States. Yeah. So people have been saying he's already kicked the bucket, you might say. If he is, they will stand someone up on stage with a mask on that looks identical to him, and he'll stagger around like if he was Jim Carrey or something, pretending very well to be this man. How about the purge? We haven't completely seen this roll out yet, where they kill each other like Revelation 6 talks about on the red horse. But it's starting to, it's in the gate, put it that way. The Purge, written in 1995. Well before the age of the movies. Okay, let me turn that off. Got a couple more here to show you. A couple more things. Here's the main card. Okay. I've shown you, and let me pull it up again here. I've shown you on this card what it says, enough is enough. And they're shouting this in the media because they know this is coming. They control it, and they're shouting it. Now, who does that look like to you? Any particular person? In case you're new, I won't even say it. I'll let you think who you think it looks like. It is obviously one man. Says at any time, at any place, our snipers can drop you. Have a nice day. Now, is this relevant to this day? Well, I've shown before. You can see the CV, the thing they said was floating around in all of us. You can see it in the background of this image. It's letting you know. It's even showing you the color red, showing you that it's in the blood, like, okay? They're showing you that this is the time of this card to be played. At any time, at any place, our snipers can drop you. And what are they talking about right now? What's all over the news? What's all over? They're talking about violence. Someone getting hurt, right? That is what they're talking about. You can find it if you let's just run Enough is Enough and you'll see it everywhere. But the pace of it is continuing to increase. Okay. Here is apparently, this was January 16. Enough is Enough, right? What have I got? Some kind of filter on here? Seems like I got some kind of a filter. Oh, I'm on videos. That's what it is. I apologize. Okay, so here is just the normal one with more recent news and stuff. And people talking about Trump and talking about enough is enough. See, like, here's what Lindsey Graham doing to try to prevent riots. Enough is enough. I've tried to be helpful, and they were wanting him to, supposedly, in the script, to testify against Trump, and he said, enough is enough. I'm not doing it. Oh, here's someone else explaining that to you as well. Okay? He says, you can count me out, and enough is enough. I could probably look up the gematria on some of these words, and there it would be. You can just keep looking. It's over and over. 2 days ago, 3 days ago, a week ago, 6 days ago, a day ago, and it just goes on and on and on and on. If they successfully pull off the hoax of taking him out, and it will be a hoax, he will not be taken out. But the people will think he has been, and they will think somebody has dashed their last hope. And when that happens, God help us, because the people that are around you that are still in love with Trump are going to lose their minds. You've been warned. Please share this with somebody else and try to help them understand, so that they don't lose their minds and fall into this trap. I love you guys. Our Father in heaven loves us. We'll talk to you again real soon.
I've got one that can see.
Logic Before Authority.